Hello, Dudekins, whom I encountered yesterday poring over your math textbook and crying over how hard percents are. Percent is a beautiful thing, and I'm going to put it in a nutshell for you and hope this will help. Basic. One, a whole is 100%. So never say stuff like, "Oh, I'm going to give it 110%." 110% means that you will have to borrow 10% of yourself somewhere. There's only one of you. You cannot get another 10% of you. There's only 100%. So forget that nonsense. Half is going to be exactly 50%. So 50 is a half. A quarter is 25%. So those are the basics. Now here are some stats for currency. And I'm talking US bills, and those of you who have handled money at some point in your life will relate. So the picture of Lincoln is on a $5 bill. That makes him 5% of Franklin. Franklin being a $100 bill. And then the rest of them you can see on the screen. Now, how do we figure that out? So 5 related to 100. What is it in percent? Classical textbook will tell you take the sum, any number, you divide by 100 because there's 100%, and then you multiply by the number of percent. So 5% of 100, doing it this way, so you take the 100 divided by 100 multiplied by 5, you end up with 5. 5% of $100 is $5. An easier way to do it, think of percentages as decimals. So 1% is 100th, 15 is 1500th, 75 is 7500th. So all you do, you just multiply by that decimal. Hamilton is 10% of Franklin. So you take 100 multiplied by 0.1 because 10% is 1/10. And then we end up with 100 times 0.1 is 10. And what did it tell you? There you go. 10% of Franklin is $10. That's our lovely Hamilton. And if you do not know this dude, life is passing you by. You have to hang out with him. He is glorious. 4th grade. So let's say your worst nightmare has come true and you are taking care of 25 rugrats in the back room. K through 3. So 25 kids. 15 of them want pizza. 5 love hot dogs. And 5, well, they just want their mommy and they don't know what to want. So let's say you are in the statistical mood and you decided to run the percentage of all this stuff. So 15 of them wanted pizza. 15 to 25 is like 3 to 5. 3 over 5, 3 divided by 5 is 0.6. So that becomes 60%. So 60% of those rugrats want pizza. Now, 5 of them wanted hot dog. 5 over 25 is 1/5, which is 1 over 5 is 0.2, so that means 20%. And then the same goes for those who just wanted their mommy. So your statistical view of the population of the K through 3, 60% are Mambo Italianos, they love pizza. 20% love hot dogs. And 20%, well, they're just crybabies. Next, if you know the number and you know that it's a percentage of some other number that you don't know, how do you figure that out? You do 5 divided by, or as another textbook would teach you, you would have to multiply by 100 and divide by the number of percent. If that rocks your boat, go ahead. 24 is 30% of what number? Again, 30% is 0.3. So you take 24 and you divide by 0.3, you end up with 80. And you can do it backwards. So if you have $80, what is 30% of 80? You multiply that by 0.3. That's 24. Works. So in the nutshell, if you have two numbers and you know the percentage that connects them, say A is 20% of B. If I know B, then to find A, I will multiply B by 0.2 because 20% is 0.2. If I know A and I want to find B, I will divide by 0.2. I'll take A and divide by 0.2. Next, how do you figure out discounts? So 75% off. What does that mean? Let's say you are salivating over something that costs $400. How much are you going to pay if it's at 75% off? Conventional textbooks would teach you, first step, you find 75% off $400 and then you subtract that sum from $400. Well, yes, that works. 400 times 0.75 would be $300. Then you go 4 minus $300 is $100. But guys, do not fly from Atlanta to LA through Vancouver. It's basic common sense. $400, 75% off. So you are going to pay how much? You're going to just pay 25% of $400. What's 25%? Well, that's a quarter. 400 times 1/4 is 100. Here's your shortcut. So use your thinking cap. Now, sales tax. The total that you're going to pay is going to be the price tag plus 7% of that price. So it's going to be price plus 0.07 of that price. Or you can just take that price, multiply by 107. So for example, something costs $100. If you just hand the cashier $100, they're going to look at you like you were from Mars or something, because what they're going to expect you to pay is 107. How do we figure it out? 100 times 107 is 107. Or split it into steps. You take the price plus 7% of that price. That is 107. As you go down the road in life, you will encounter bank loans, compound percentages, mortgages and whatnot, and that is a slightly bigger headache. So my advice for you right now, don't grow up, it's a trap. But that is a whole other story. For now, that was percents in a nutshell for you. If you have any other questions, let me know. Toodles.